Hey, what's up everybody? What's crack-a-lackin'? This is Like It's 1985, and today we are going to take a look at Transformers Generations Voyager class SANDSTORM, which of course is a repaint or recolor and a retooling of the Generation Springer figure. Now, to start off the review, let's first go ahead and take a look at some of the differences between this guy and Springer, just so you can see the sculpting differences and the design differences. So let me go ahead and stand this guy up here and bring in Springer. Let's start off by comparing the guns. The guns actually are two separate, entirely different weapons. Let me go ahead and take this out. You can take a look at this particular weapon here. It does have a firing gimmick. If you pull back on this black piece here, the missile does fire. And you can take a look at Springer's weapon really quick here, and you can see it's a different design. Alright, so moving on to the differences in the figures themselves. Well, of course the head sculpts are different, and of course you cannot help but notice the giant backpack here with these turbine slash wheels hanging off of the back here. We can take a look at the back of the figure here. Now, what Hasbro has done is this entire piece here from the hinge back is entirely different, unique piece of plastic. So basically they just added that part on to give the different modes for the dune buggy and for the aircraft mode. I think they call it the VTOL, VTOL. So there is this ginormous piece here that is entirely new to this particular figure. So looking at the chest, well, I suppose we can compare the head sculpts. I mean, obviously there's going to be different head sculpts for different characters, but there's Springer and there is SANDSTORM. It's got some blue light piping for the eyes. Now, as for the chest, you can see there is Springer's chest, and it's compared to SANDSTORM's. So entirely different sculpt for the chest. Now, the arms are pretty much identical. They transform the same way, and they are the same sculpt, just different colors, different paint. And of course, you don't have these bits here on SANDSTORM because it's a different sculpt there. The pelvic area is the same, just different colors, and the upper part of the legs are the same. So moving on, I'd like to compare the legs between Springer and the new SANDSTORM sculpt. And let's start with the knees, because that's where the differences start. As you can see, Springer has the little extensions here on the knee, as does SANDSTORM, although they are very different in terms of design. In terms of function, they have the same function in the aircraft modes. They both serve as the rear landing gear for their respective aircraft modes. Looking at the back of the legs, you can see Springer does have these extensions here, whereas SANDSTORM does not. Of course, these form the spoiler for Springer's armored car mode and the winglets for Springer's helicopter mode. So SANDSTORM does not have these bits attached to the back of the legs. Looking at the side of the leg here, moving in this area right here, generally speaking, they're similar in design. They're both circular, but the sculpt is different as compared to the differences between the two. You can see here the sculpt here is different from here. The feet, however, are identical, except for the fact that they're different colors. Now, moving to the front of the legs, you can see right here the differences between Springer. Springer has these working functional wheels. These wheels, of course, become the rear wheels for the armored car vehicle mode. And SANDSTORM does not have those wheels at all. And that's just due to the way that SANDSTORM is designed. So there is that difference there. Quite a difference, actually, between having wheels at that location and not having wheels at all. So there is that difference as well. As you can see, the head is on a ball joint. You've got shoulder articulation as such. Swivel at the bicep, ratchet at the elbow. The hands are on a swivel. There is waist articulation present. You have legs, can go forward, back, out to the side, rotate at the hip, ratchet bend at the knee there, and then you have articulation here, mostly due to transformation at the ankles. Okay, so let's go ahead and transform Sandstorm here into dune buggy mode. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces here and detach them. You can see they slot into the chest there. That's going to allow me to untab this section here, and I'm going to squeeze the head into that area there and bring the landing gear out here to get some clearance. And the head is actually going to transform into the chest area. Go ahead and rotate the head around actually so that we don't have it facing forward or down or whatever, so it's like that. Coming back here, go ahead and untab this whole assembly back here, and then you want to bring this section here, untab it, and rotate it back to that position there. Then let's deal with the arms. I'm going to take this section here, rotate that out. There's a little space here for the hand. Goes in there like that. Take this section here, untab that. This is going to form the side of the vehicle. Take this section here, rotate it down and around, and it's on a little pop-up joint, so pop that back into the body, rotate that down, and tab that into the side. You can see one side of the vehicle. I'll do the same thing over here. Do that, fold the hand in, and go ahead and take this section here, fold this out. It's on a little double hinge there. Take this section here, rotate it down, and pop it back into the side, tab it in there. So this is the front of the vehicle mode here, and these should tab into place. Put the landing gear away, like that, like that, and there's a slot here and a slot on the other side, and that will be secured by these other sections here. Get those out of the way for now. You want to take the feet here, bring them back like that, and this whole section is going to fold in, and as I mentioned before, there's a tab and a slot that should tab into the side like so. I'm going to rotate this around so that you have the wheel facing outward as you would in a dune buggy. Coming over here again, collapse the feet, bring this piece around, tab in a slot, bring the wheel down, rotate around and bring the wheel down. There's actually a slot and a tab on both sides, and that secures the wheels, the rear wheels that is, to the side of the vehicle. And this section here will fold down like that. And these little pieces come here and fold in and cover the driver and passenger side windows. And there you have Sandstorm in dune buggy mode. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the dune buggy vehicle mode. Now, one thing I will address right off the bat is the elephant in the room, which is the size of the rear wheel as compared to the front wheel. I wouldn't mind the size of the rear wheel if the front wheels were actually bigger. But as it is, it looks a bit cartoony. I've gotten used to it, but you know, it's still, there's a vast difference between the front and the rear here. So there is that. The vehicle does roll real well, as you can see there. And you can place the gun in the peg hole up here. Rotates all the way around here. Of course, you got the joint that allows you to raise and lower the gun. But let me go ahead and take that out for now. And let's have a close look at this dune buggy mode. Really, really cool looking dune buggy mode. Look at the side here, the back, top down view, and the undercarriage. Lots of nice detail here on the sides. You have these louvers here that cover up the windshields, or the windows, a la Mad Max. These can be raised like that if you so wish. So there is that. Size comparison. Well, this is a Voyager class vehicle. Let's go ahead and compare it to a deluxe class figure that I happen to have in vehicle form, Revenge of the Fallen Swerve. So you can see the size difference there. And let me bring in Transformers Prime First Edition Optimus Prime. You can see that there. So overall, the vehicle mode is pretty cool. I just wish that the front wheels were bigger, but I understand that the designers were limited because these wheels have to basically stay this size because these will form the legs, and these have to be this big because they will form like the, I guess, the thrusters or the engines for the aircraft mode. So they were limited in that regard, but the rear wheel does look cartoony, being as big as it is. Alright, with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the transformation from dune buggy mode into the aircraft mode, which is my favorite mode in terms of the vehicles. Alright, so let's go ahead and transform the dune buggy into the VTOL aircraft mode. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section here, rotate this back, untab the wheels from the side, get these up and out of the way for now. Coming to the side of the vehicle, you want to free up this section here and rotate that back. Same thing over here. And rotate back. Now go ahead and take these bits out here like that to the side. And you want to take the section right here. There's actually a tab up here. You're going to take this whole assembly here, it's on a hinge, and it's going to tab in like that. Then with the side panels here, you want to take this here and pop this up, and these can be a little bit difficult, so kind of get your fingernail in there and just use as much force as you can to get that popped up like that. Rotate this around. That's going to cover up the front wheel. Do the same thing over here. Rotate around and cover up the wheel. And then take this bit here, fold this back like that, and what you're also going to do is actually fold in the part of the canopy here. So you want to fold this down out to the side like that, and do the same thing over here. Rotate that down, fold this back, and get these off to the side for now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on what are basically the robot legs. These are going to form the back of the aircraft mode. And what we need to do here is actually there's two places when we need to tab in the legs together. One's right here and also back here. What I found is if you try to tab in them both at the same time, one will come loose. So what I tend to do is basically tab in one part here, for example on the back here, get these lined up and tab into place, and then hold on really tight to get a really good secure grip on there, and then line up the tab and the slot here, and it should tab into place. Now there we go. And you hear that snap? You got to use a lot of force, and it does stay together really tightly. It's not going anywhere. So I do like that. It is a bit difficult sometimes to get everything lined up, but For some reason it was more difficult here on camera than it was when I was practicing off camera. But anyways, we got it done here. So we got the legs together like that. And what you want to do with these side bits here, if you come up here for the dune buggy mode, the bits here are going to be up here, but they actually rotate down or slide down like that, and you want them down in this position so that you'll have the tab and a slot here and a tab and a slot here that are all lined up, and that's going to secure these side bits in like that, and they stay pretty securely. So there we got, looking like that. Go ahead and bring down and rotate around these so you have the turbine facing up like that. Looking back here, there's actually a couple of tabs and corresponding slots, and these need to be actually tabbed into place to secure this back section. So we can go ahead and do that now. You can see that snap, and then these bits back here get rotated up like that. So you have the black paint or black section of that winglet here facing to the side like that, and there is the transformation for the dune buggy mode into VTOL aircraft mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the VTOL aircraft mode. Now, between this and the dune buggy mode, I prefer this mode much better. And apparently this is actually based on a real vehicle. The VTOL is an acronym for vertical takeoff and landing. So it can take off vertically and land vertically, and apparently it can hover as well. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at the details of this particular VTOL aircraft mode. As you can see, looking at the underside, it does have landing gear, and these can retract into the front here, and these two landing gear back here can fold up like that. And looking at the top here, a nice amount of sculpting detail, really cool. And as you can see, you got these turbines here. As you spin the tires here, it creates sort of like a turbine effect, as you can see there. And you can see the size of the turbines are appropriate for the actual vehicle mode, I would say. Which of course, as we saw earlier with the dune buggy mode, it's not the case in the dune buggy mode. The dune buggy mode is compromised by these big wheels, but because they have to be this big for the VTOL mode, of course, there is that compromise, which is not a big deal to me because my two favorite modes are the VTOL mode here as well as the robot mode. Dune buggy's okay, but I like the VTOL mode better as far as the vehicle modes are concerned. So, really nice. Let's take a look at the side here. Really nice side profile. As you look at it from the front, you can see the bumper bits and the headlights here from the dune buggy mode. A little bit unfortunate, but not a big deal. Take a look at the back here. One thing I notice about the feet as they are transformed into the back section of this VTOL mode, what you can see here, if you take a close look, there's actually some sculpted in detail, and these look like guns. So basically this particular mode has some guns that are facing rearward, so that's pretty cool. Now speaking of weaponry, of course you can plug in the gun from robot mode into either of these two peg holes here, but really the instructions tell you, and what I think is the better mode, is to have the gun placed underneath the nose of the vehicle and basically insert it into this little area here. Okay, so as you can see here, I've actually attached successfully the gun underneath the nose of the VTOL. And it's a bit tricky, but if you can take a look here, you can see what needs to happen. This section of the gun here kind of slides in this slot or groove here on the nose, and then these little bit of fins here rest against that piece of plastic there. So that should give you an idea of how to actually successfully get the gun mounted underneath the nose of the VTOL. But as you can see, very nice, very badass, very cool effect having it like that mounted underneath the nose. So you can just imagine it coming at you like this. So pretty cool. Okay, so moving on to size comparisons. Well, I happen to have here the Deluxe Class Seeker Thundercracker, and you can see the comparison there. Obviously a Deluxe versus a Voyager, but it still gives you an idea of the size of the Voyager class SANDSTORM here. So really cool. So my final thoughts on Transformers Generations Voyager class SANDSTORM. First of all, I do have to really give a nod to Hasbro and give them kudos, because really I do appreciate the fact that they have released a true triple changing Transformer, and not only just one, but of course we have Springer and Blitzwing, and we can only hope there'll be more in the future. Definitely a very cool figure. I love the transformation. The transformation is complex enough, but it's not overly complex. It's something that I think even younger Transformers fans can pick up and transform without too much problems. The only real negative that sticks out to me is the fact that in Dune Buggy mode the rear wheels are over large, and you know, I do understand that Hasbro had to engineer the wheels like that such that you can actually transform into the VTOL hovering aircraft mode. So with that in mind, it doesn't bother me too much, but some people might be put off by the really oversized rear wheels in the Dune Buggy mode. Should you get this if you already have the Springer mold? I think so. If you have the means to get this figure, I definitely recommend you pick it up. It's different enough from the Springer mold that it's actually its own unique figure in a way, even though the transformation is relatively the same. There's enough there that's different in terms of coloring, in terms of resculpting and remolding and retooling, that I think it's worth picking up, even though you might already have the Voyager class Generation Springer figure. Alright, well, thanks for watching. This has been my review of Transformers Generations Voyager class SANDSTORM.